Jessica and I had always been the kind of couple that others envied. Our marriage was a beautiful partnership filled with love, laughter, and a vibrant sex life that made us feel more connected than ever after 20 years together. Jessica was always attentive, never hesitating to show me her love in big and small ways. With her, trust came naturally. I never imagined she could betray that trust. But then there was that one night at her company's dinner that planted the first seeds of doubt in my mind. Her boss, Mark, was a charismatic man who seemed to have a knack for drawing attention. He danced with Jessica, and I could feel a strange energy in the air. When he looked over at me, there was a smirk on his face that made my gut twist with unease. The next day, I decided to voice my concerns to Jessica. But when I did, she defended Mark fiercely, brushing off my worries as overreactions. That response sent alarms ringing in my head. Suddenly, all those late meetings and missed lunches registered as red flags I couldn't ignore. As the reality of the situation sank in, my anger grew. Jessica worked as Mark's personal assistant at a prestigious law firm, and Mark was the managing partner. He was the type of guy who loved to flaunt his wealth, expensive cars, flashy jewelry, and a stunning younger wife named Stella, whom he had traded for his first wife after over 2 decades together. Mark was the classic alpha male, the kind of guy everyone wanted to be around, but I saw through the bravado to the arrogant bully underneath. I remembered a dinner party not long ago, where Mark had made fun of my job selling screws and fasteners to retail stores. It wasn't glamorous work, but it paid the bills. I brought in over $200,000 a year, which provided a comfortable life for our family. I had given Jessica everything she desired, including covering our daughter Sarah's college education, now in her 2nd year. We lived in a nice community, surrounded by good friends and a fulfilling lifestyle. I wasn't a power broker like Mark, but I thought we were happy. At least, that's what I believed. That night when Mark mocked my work in front of everyone, I was furious, not just at him, but at Jessica for defending him. I felt humiliated and stormed out, but she came after me, asking what was wrong. I vented my frustrations, but she dismissed my feelings, insisting Mark was just joking. Against my better judgment, I stayed for the rest of the evening, telling myself I was overreacting. Looking back, I realized I should have been more aware. I couldn't blame anyone for being attracted to Mark. He was tall, good-looking, and confident, the kind of man who commanded a room. But Jessica was his right-hand woman, the person he relied on most in the firm. That fact alone made my skin crawl. Mark was used to getting what he wanted, and it was clear he had his eyes on Jessica. Over the next week, I became determined to find out if my suspicions were grounded in reality or just paranoia. I acted quickly, ordering 6 audio recording devices and 5 video cameras. As the packages arrived, I set my plan into motion. The first video camera was hidden inside the smoke detector on the ceiling of our bedroom. I was careful to position it in a way that would capture everything without drawing suspicion. The next 2 cameras went into the living room and the kitchen, where I suspected conversations might happen when I wasn't around. As I worked to secure the surveillance equipment, a mix of dread and anticipation washed over me. I knew this could change everything, but I felt I had no choice. If there was something to uncover, I needed to know the truth. My gut instinct was screaming at me, and I wasn't about to ignore it any longer. After everything was set up, I tried to go about my daily life as normally as possible. I made dinner for Jessica and Sarah, joined in on conversations about school, and did my best to keep a smile on my face. But inside, I was a storm of anxiety, my heart racing with the thought of what I might find out. Days passed, and I monitored the recordings closely, trying to remain calm and collected. I watched Jessica move about the house, oblivious to the hidden cameras, her laughter echoing in the background. But every time she got a text or took a call, my heart would skip a beat, wondering if it was Mark on the other end. The tension in the air was palpable, and I could feel the weight of the truth looming over me. As I continued this unsettling investigation, I began to realize how far I was willing to go to protect my family. I was scared of what I might find, yet I was even more terrified of living a lie. I had to know if the love I thought we shared was strong enough to weather this storm or if it was all just an illusion built on misplaced trust. The answers I sought were out there, hidden in plain sight, and soon, I would uncover the truth. Cameras were strategically positioned throughout our home, ensuring I captured every angle of the bedroom. I had also set up devices in the master bathroom and the living room, all equipped with advanced live streaming capabilities, offering up to 8K resolution. They connected wirelessly to a dedicated computer I had discreetly installed in the attic, allowing me to control everything from a simple app on my phone. I felt like a covert operator, meticulously planning every detail to uncover the truth. But it wasn't just the video surveillance that I relied on. I had some unique audio devices that would become crucial to my investigation. One was cleverly disguised as a pen, resting casually next to the kitchen phone, while another was hidden within the confines of her car. I also tucked standard recording devices into her 3 favorite purses and discreetly placed one behind our bed. With this comprehensive setup, I was confident I could capture at least 90% of her conversations and any activities taking place in the house. As the day of my business trip approached, an unsettling knot of anxiety twisted in my stomach. I had a gnawing feeling that the next week could bring revelations I wasn't ready to face. Yet, despite my inner turmoil, Jessica remained her usual affectionate self. Just like every time before a trip, she rocked my world in bed. Our evening started with sweet kisses and soft whispers as she held me close, telling me how much she loved me and how unbearable the distance would be. Her warmth and tenderness enveloped me, and in those intimate moments, it was hard to imagine she could ever be unfaithful. I nearly abandoned my spying plan, wanting to trust her completely, but caution prevailed. I decided to leave the setup in place, just in case. After a heartfelt goodbye, I hit the road at 6 p.m. for the 3-hour drive to the hotel. As I drove, my mind replayed the last 6 months like a film reel, analyzing every interaction. There had been 2 peculiar encounters with her boss that nagged at me, the way he smirked and his attempts to undermine me, but other than that, nothing seemed amiss. A sense of relief washed over me, and I couldn't help but smile, realizing I might just be overreacting. Once I checked into my hotel room, I powered on my laptop, which took a few agonizing minutes to boot up. I quickly skimmed through my emails for any work updates and then clicked on the link to the server in my attic to review the last 3 hours of footage. I expected there wouldn't be much to see, but I wanted to ensure the remote access system was functioning properly. I fast-forwarded the video at 3x speed until I caught a glimpse of Jessica in the bedroom. As I returned the video to normal speed, I was eager to see what she was up to, perhaps even feeling a bit nostalgic. But what unfolded before my eyes was a scene I could never have anticipated. An hour after I had left, the camera captured her making a phone call, and I froze as I listened to her voice. "Hello, honey?" He laughed, "And I'm all alone," she said, her tone sultry and inviting. "Yes, this time for 2 nights. When can you come over? Won't your wife ask where you're going?" I felt the blood drain from my face. My heart raced as I listened, each word slicing through me like a knife. "Oh my God, this is great. Can you spend the night with me? I really want to wake up next to you." Then, a giggle slipped from her lips, dripping with desire. "Oh yes, of course, I'm all yours, baby. What time will you be here? Okay, see you soon. I love you, baby." I was stunned, paralyzed in disbelief. Just an hour ago, we had shared the most passionate love, and now she was inviting him to stay the night? Who was this woman, and how could she profess her love for me while betraying me so brazenly? A whirlwind of emotions consumed me: shock, anger, confusion. For the next hour, I was forced to watch as my loving wife prepared to meet her lover. Each second felt like an eternity, an excruciating experience that I couldn't look away from. I watched her in the shower, steam rising around her as she savored the moment, seemingly blissfully unaware of the storm brewing just beyond the walls of our home. After her shower, Jessica slipped into sexy lingerie that hugged her curves perfectly. The delicate fabric accentuated her figure, and I couldn't help but feel a pang of both desire and heartbreak as I watched her apply high heels that elongated her legs. My stomach churned as I saw her put on makeup, carefully painting her lips and enhancing her eyes, each stroke a preparation for someone else. Then came the hair, a process that took 30 minutes, each moment feeling like a fresh stab to my heart. She curled and styled her locks, transforming herself into a vision meant for someone else. I felt the heat of anger and betrayal rising within me as I witnessed this painful display. As I sat there, glued to the screen, I couldn't help but wonder how I had misread everything. The woman I thought I knew, the one I believed was devoted to me, was now a stranger in a heartbreaking way. How could she be so loving to me one moment and so deceitful the next? My mind raced as I tried to reconcile the two sides of her, my devoted wife and the woman preparing to betray me. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I watched her eagerly await her lover's arrival. The doorbell would soon ring, and with it, my entire world would shatter. I knew I should have been angry, ready to confront her, but a part of me was paralyzed by disbelief, unable to process the reality unfolding before my eyes. The pain was sharp, but the fear of what would happen next loomed larger. Would I confront her? Would I expose her betrayal? Or would I quietly watch, waiting for the right moment to strike back? The decisions weighed heavily on my heart as the night stretched on, leaving me in a limbo I had never anticipated. I was a man caught in a web of love and deceit, and I had to figure out my next move. I had always known Jessica had a sensual side. When she dressed up, she transformed into a vixen. The problem was that she never dressed like that for me. Anger and jealousy surged through my veins when I realized that all this was for Mark, not for her faithful husband. It felt like a punch to the gut, and I struggled to comprehend it. A few minutes later, the doorbell rang. My heart raced as I saw Mark walk into my house. He pulled Jessica in for a deep kiss right in front of the video camera. I captured the moment on video, and nausea washed over me for the first time that night. "Wow, baby, you look amazing in that dress," he said, grinning at her. "I can't wait to rip it off your sexy body and make love to you all night long." Each word felt like a dagger in my heart. My anger morphed into incredible pain as I watched her take his hand and lead him into our bedroom. I felt like a ghost, trapped in my own home, unable to look away as she undressed him. Mark stood there with that stupid grin plastered on his face, a big man with a strong body that seemed to contrast so sharply with my own insecurities. I was consumed by a mix of jealousy, rage, and a strange admiration for the confidence he exuded. After a second wave of vomiting, I forced myself to stay and listen, even though I knew I should walk away. I watched the two of them for the next hour, my heart sinking deeper with every intimate moment they shared. It was as if my marriage was unraveling right before my eyes, but I couldn't look away. "So, your husband is gone for a few nights," Mark said, his voice dripping with satisfaction. "Looks like you're all mine for the next 2 days." Jessica replied, her voice laced with excitement, "I'm so happy you can stay the night, baby. You know I've always wanted to wake up next to you." "I love being with you, Mark," she continued. "I can't wait to be with you over and over again tonight. Little hubby's out working hard." Mark chuckled. "What an idiot," he said. Jessica quickly shot back, "Be good, Mark. I love him, and he's a good person." "Then why do you let me have sex with you?" he pressed. "Because you're the sexiest man I know, and I love our time together," she confessed. "But we're both married. We should just enjoy the moments we have." Mark responded, "You give me more love and affection than my wife or any other woman I've been with. For me, it's more than sex. I just love how you make me feel, Jessica." That part pierced me deeply. The love he spoke of was supposed to be mine alone, and now I realized she was sharing it with another man. I felt like I was sinking into despair as I listened to their intimate exchanges. "Did your husband satisfy you as much as I do?" Mark asked casually. Jessica replied, "He's a wonderful lover, but no, he's not like you. You do things to me that I can't even explain." I sat there, heartbroken, with a profound sense of loss. It felt like a betrayal echoing in my own home and bed. I turned off the computer, unable to bear any more of their deceitful intimacy. The betrayal felt too heavy to carry, and I couldn't stand the thought of what my life had become. Hours passed in a haze of insomnia and anger. I realized there would be a lot of pain and revenge in my future, and I was ready to confront it. When I returned home after my trip, everything appeared fine. Jessica greeted me with open arms, wrapping me in a hug filled with warmth and affection. It was as if nothing had happened. But instead of the love I used to feel for her, a wave of disgust washed over me. I shuddered at her kiss, feeling the chasm between us grow wider. The woman I had loved so deeply was slipping away, and in her place stood a stranger, someone I could no longer recognize. The facade of our perfect life was cracking, and I could see the pieces of my heart shattered on the floor. I had been playing my role as the dutiful husband flawlessly. Each day, I wore a mask of normalcy, hiding the storm brewing beneath the surface. I meticulously collected all the recordings and videos, backing everything up to the cloud and creating an encrypted file on my computer. I was preparing for the storm to break, and every second Jessica spent with me had to count. Over the next 2 weeks, I kept her busy, filling our days with activities that left no room for late-night escapades or quick rendezvous. I could sense the impatience growing in Mark and Jessica. They clearly wanted me gone. One morning, while I was half listening to her talk on the phone during her drive to work, I caught snippets of their conversation. "When will your husband leave town again?" Mark asked. Jessica replied, "I'm not sure, but I'll find out. It has to happen soon, baby." Armed with this knowledge, I planned a short trip for myself, just one night, to ensure Mark would be there when I wasn't. The pieces of my plan were falling into place. That evening, as I sat on the couch watching a movie, Jessica approached me. "Darling, when is your next trip?" she asked innocently. I struggled to suppress my anger and replied, half joking, "Honey, are you trying to get rid of me? Do you have a secret lover who visits when I'm not around?" She laughed lightly, showing no signs of guilt. "Don't be silly. I love it when you're home. I hope you don't have to leave anytime soon." Her words felt like daggers, yet she continued, "I wonder if your travel schedule has been cut back." I forced a smile and said, "No, sorry honey. My job still requires me to travel. I have an evening appointment next Tuesday, and I'll be back sometime on Wednesday." "I hate it when you leave," she pouted, coming over to hug me tightly. As she kissed me deeply, I felt an overwhelming sense of betrayal wash over me. She was giving the same affection to another man, and it made my blood boil. Yet, I kept my composure, maintaining the facade until the following week when my plan would finally take shape. On Tuesday, I packed my bags for the trip, but not before sharing one last intimate moment with Jessica. We made love, a bittersweet farewell knowing that after tonight, we wouldn't be us anymore. She kissed me passionately, and I wondered if she could see the sadness in my eyes when I looked at her for what I thought would be the last time. Her expression shifted slightly, but I couldn't tell what was going through her mind. Instead of heading out of town, I pulled into my office parking lot. I parked my car and returned to my desk, pretending to work late, a common routine that would raise no suspicions. Around 7:30 p.m., the video camera I'd set up in the house turned on as Mark walked in, his demeanor tender as he kissed Jessica, my soon-to-be ex-wife. It was showtime. I disabled the camera using an app on my phone, then tucked it away in my desk drawer to avoid any GPS tracking. Quietly, I slipped out of the office and retrieved a folding electric bike from my trunk. The bike was perfect for my plan, capable of reaching speeds of up to 30 miles per hour with a range of 50 miles on a single charge. I donned a black hoodie, scanning the parking lot to make sure no one was watching, and set off on a stealthy 12-mile journey back home. In just 20 minutes, I parked the bike behind the house and slipped through the back sliding door, which I had left ajar for just this moment. Inside, I paused, standing silently to avoid detection, listening intently for any sounds coming from the bedroom. My heart raced as I braced myself for what was about to unfold. I was almost certain they were in the middle of something when I arrived, and it seemed like they hadn't even noticed me walk in. I headed to the closet where I'd stashed a short-barreled shotgun and an aluminum bat. Gripping them tightly, I made my way into the bedroom. I carefully leaned the shotgun against the wall just outside the room and picked up the bat. With a deep breath, I quietly opened the door to the candlelit room. The noise they were making drowned out any sound I might have made, and they were completely oblivious to my presence. I crossed the short distance to the bed, my heart pounding in my chest. Without hesitation, I swung the bat and delivered a powerful blow to the side of the guy's head. The dull thud of metal meeting flesh was overshadowed only by the sound of his massive body. He must have weighed at least 250 pounds, crashing to the floor. As he fell, I grabbed the shotgun and flicked on the light. That's when Jessica finally realized what was happening. Her face turned pale, and she looked utterly shocked. "Oh God, no. Please, this can't be real. Why are you here? You should be away." I shot back, "Why are you in bed with another man? That's the real question. Now shut the hell up and pay attention." The big guy, now semi-conscious, leaned against the wall, blood trickling down from the gash I had just made. I watched as he began to regain his bearings, his eyes filled with a mix of anger and confusion. "Damn it, this hurts. Why did you do that, dude? Are you kidding me?" I shot back, my voice steadied despite the adrenaline rushing through me. "You're having sex with my wife in my bed, and you think I'm just going to sit back and relax? What do you think I'm going to do?" He glanced nervously at the shotgun I was pointing at him and asked, "Are you worried, big man? Are you afraid I'll hurt you?" I leaned closer, my voice low and menacing. "Oh, I know exactly what you two did behind my back, and tonight is payback. Mark, you're going to die. Everything you've built, everything you've worked for, it's all going to vanish. I hope it was worth it, you piece of trash." He stammered, "Dude, if you kill me, you'll be in jail for the rest of your life." "To hell with that. We'll all die tonight. How does that sound, idiot?" I wanted to instill pure terror in both of them, and even though I had no intention of killing anyone, it felt good to see their fear. I was behaving wildly, feeding off the tension in the room. Jessica was curled up, tears streaming down her face as she desperately tried to cover her naked body with a sheet. "Baby, please don't do anything stupid. I love you. I really do. Just put the shotgun down, and let's talk about this." With an evil grin, I aimed the shotgun at her and said, "Shut the hell up. This is happening because you wanted excitement outside of our marriage. Whatever happens tonight is your fault." They both knew they were in serious trouble, and it was clear they had to calm me down, or else. I had loaded the shotgun with custom rounds, 25% salt and 75% capsicum oleoresin, the stuff that's found in pepper spray. I didn't plan to kill anyone, I just wanted to inflict enough pain to make him think twice about ever crossing me again. After all, I didn't want to go to jail. I wouldn't kill anyone tonight, but I needed them to believe I was capable of anything. I wanted this night etched in their memories for the rest of their lives. Once Mark shook off the blow to the head, he mustered the courage to charge at me, trying to wrestle the shotgun from my grip. I had anticipated this moment, and as soon as he made his move, he exposed himself to me. I squeezed the trigger, unleashing the first round. The explosion echoed through the room, but his screams drowned out everything else. He couldn't see, couldn't breathe, suffocating under the weight of pain that was unlike anything he'd ever felt. A few minutes later, he sat there, writhing in agony and bleeding, the reality of the situation hitting him hard. I took a deep breath, steadying myself for what was about to unfold. With a flick of my foot, I kicked Mark to get his attention, all while locking eyes with my soon-to-be ex-wife, Jessica. "Listen up, you two," I said, my voice low and measured. "Here's how this is going to go. I'm leaving in a few minutes, and you're taking this loser to the emergency room before he bleeds out. No calling 911. You'll drive him in your car, and not a single soul will know how this went down." Mark groaned, clutching his shoulder, but I ignored him. "And when people ask what happened, you're both going to say I had no idea about your little affair. If either of you breathes a word about my involvement or your infidelity, I'll make sure that the video, audio, and photos I collected find their way to Mark's wife and all the partners at your firm. Plus, everyone you know will get a link to the website I created with over 2 hours of your intimate moments. Understand?" I saw the panic flash in their eyes. "I don't care what lies you come up with for the police, but you will not mention my name. Jessica, you can't lose your job, you'll need it once the divorce is finalized. If you come after me, or if either of you refuses this arrangement, everything will come crashing down. Get him to the hospital before he bleeds out, and remember what I said." I left as quietly as I came, locking the door behind me. I shoved the bat and shotgun into the bag, slung it over my shoulder, and slipped out into the night. Pedaling furiously on my bike back to the office, I felt a mixture of adrenaline and relief. The weapons were tossed into different parts of the river, sinking out of sight. I peeled off the surgical gloves I'd been wearing and discarded them, knowing that leaving no trace was crucial. By the time I parked the bike and returned to my office, it was just past 9. I settled back at my desk, acting as if nothing had happened. I said goodbye to a few IT employees who were burning the midnight oil, ensuring that, as far as anyone knew, my car had never left the lot. I was confident that if they ever accused me, it would be their word against mine with no evidence to back them up. Mark underwent surgery that night. He had to have several stitches and his head shaved due to a concussion from the blow I dealt him. He told the police that the last thing he remembered was walking home with some paperwork, then waking up in the hospital. He claimed he hadn't seen anyone or been attacked. I could see he was keeping his mouth shut, knowing that I had the power to ruin both his life and career. Jessica was a bundle of nerves, sticking to the story they had agreed upon. She told the police that she had heard a gunshot and rushed outside, finding Mark lying on the ground. In her panic, she claimed she didn't think there was time to wait for an ambulance. But the cops were confused about why he wasn't fully dressed, and it was clear that their story was full of holes. The real problem, however, was Mark's wife, who was growing suspicious and refusing to believe his version of events. I spent the afternoon meticulously removing the surveillance equipment I had set up. After uploading all the footage to an encrypted cloud server, I tucked the devices away, making sure any remaining evidence of their affair was now out of reach. Around 6 o'clock, Jessica walked into the living room to find me cradling a bottle of my good whiskey, staring into space. I sat silently on the couch, lost in thought, as she sank down across from me. She looked utterly broken, the sadness etched into her features. For a fleeting moment, I felt a twinge of pity for her, but I quickly squashed it. With tears welling in her eyes, she began to speak. "Johnny, I know what you saw was bad, but you need to understand, I wasn't in love with him." Her words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken truths. I could see she was desperate for forgiveness, but all I could think about was the betrayal. I took a sip of whiskey, the burn settling into my chest as I braced myself for what was to come. "Not in love?" I echoed, my voice steady but filled with hurt. "You were sharing a bed with him, Jess. You didn't just cross a line, you obliterated it." She shifted uncomfortably, her expression a mixture of shame and defiance. "It was a mistake, Johnny. I didn't mean for it to happen. Mark is. He's charming and confident. I got swept up in it, but I promise it didn't mean anything. You're the one I love. Her words felt hollow, and I couldn't help but wonder if I could ever trust her again. Love? I scoffed, trying to keep my emotions in check. How can you claim to love me when you were so willing to throw it all away for a moment of excitement? Jessica lowered her head, defeated. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just want you to understand it was never supposed to go this far. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling, trying to process everything that had happened. Understand? How can I possibly understand betrayal, Jess? You shattered everything we built together. This isn't just some petty mistake, this is a life-altering decision. Silence enveloped us, and I could feel the weight of our shattered trust hanging heavily between us. As I contemplated our future, I realized I was standing at a crossroads. Would I be able to forgive her, or was this the end of our story? The questions loomed large, but deep down, I knew that the answers were still to come. I knew how it looked, and I understood the hurt I had caused. But you know me. After being intimate, I crave that emotional connection. I poured my heart into everything I said to you, baby. Whenever you were away, the loneliness consumed me, and Mark was just someone to fill that void. Sure, it turned sexual, but it was just sex, you have to believe me. As I listened to Jessica's feeble excuses, my mouth fell open in disbelief. Jessica, I said, trying to keep my voice steady despite the turmoil inside, I've heard your explanations, but while you claim those words of love were meant for me, I can't shake the feeling they were meant for Mark. It's over, Jessica. 20 wonderful years wasted because of your boss and your betrayal. We'll both have to live with the consequences of your actions for the rest of our lives. Thanks for the pain and suffering you've caused me, I'll cherish it forever, I said, sarcasm dripping from my words. Tears streamed down her face as she stammered, "What do we do now?" "I'm done with you," I replied, my heart heavy with anger and sadness. "I'll never understand why you did what you did or how you could throw away everything we built together. I'll have to carry this burden forever. There's no way I can forgive you, but I promise I won't expose your infidelity to Sarah or your parents. They'll never know that they have such a woman instead of a mother and daughter. You can explain the divorce to them, but don't try to paint me as the villain. If you do, it'll end badly for you because I'll make sure everyone knows you're nothing more than a cheating wife." "I'm putting the house up for sale," I continued, watching her face crumble further. "And you need to find a place to stay. You ruined everything, so you're moving out. This isn't up for discussion. Just let me know where to send the divorce papers. Sign them without any resistance, or I promise it will get messy." She buried her face in her hands, sobbing. "He's not my boyfriend. I don't love him. Can't we figure this out? I know it's too late after what I did, but I can't live without you. I'll do anything to keep us together. I never wanted to lose you." I shook my head, feeling a deep ache in my chest. "Jessica, if it had only been about sex, there might have been a chance for us. Counseling, maybe even separation. But what truly ended my love for you was knowing you shared something with him that was meant only for me. The words you said to him killed us. I can never forget or forgive your betrayal, and I never want to see or talk to you again. Once the divorce is finalized, you will disappear from my life forever." For hours, she pleaded for my forgiveness, but by the next morning, she had packed her things and moved in with her mom and dad until the house sold. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of pain and confusion. The police questioned me relentlessly, attempting to draw out any admission of involvement in the incident. I hired a lawyer, who advised me not to say anything without evidence or a warrant. Without proof and with my solid alibi, they eventually backed off, labeling the situation as a random burglary and assault. Jessica and her family didn't give up easily. They bombarded me with calls, begging me to reconsider. They claimed she loved me, that she couldn't live without me, and that she was so sorry for everything. They pushed for counseling, offering empty promises, but I grew weary of their pleas. I stopped answering their calls and refused to open the door when they came knocking. I even changed my phone number to escape the relentless stream of messages. Yes, the loss crushed me. Every moment apart felt like a knife to my heart, a reminder of the love I had once cherished. But the memory of her betrayal was an insurmountable weight. How could I reconcile the woman I loved with the one who so easily gave her affection to another man? By that point, Jessica was 42 years old, living on her own salary in a cramped one-bedroom apartment. The comfortable life we had built together now felt like a distant memory, replaced by a painful reality that haunted me day and night. Each passing day reminded me of the emptiness she left behind, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of loss that permeated every aspect of my existence. I tried to move on, but the scars of her betrayal were deep, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't shake the feeling that a part of me had been irrevocably broken. The woman I thought I knew, the love we once shared, had all crumbled into dust. As I navigated my new reality, I was left to wonder if I would ever be able to love again or if the memory of Jessica's betrayal would forever shadow my heart. Jessica's world had crumbled around her. Once vibrant and full of life, she now found herself alone, her family at odds with her choices and holding her responsible for the disintegration of her marriage. They were unhappy with her, blaming her for everything that went wrong. Mark, the man she had thought would save her, had distanced himself from her as he struggled to salvage his own failing marriage. At work, Mark's attitude had shifted dramatically. He treated Jessica poorly, venting his frustrations on her and placing the blame for his own physical and marital problems squarely on her shoulders. Eventually, the strain became too much, and Mark transferred her to an administrative position, stripping her of the prestigious role she once held working alongside one of the partners. The new job was mundane and monotonous, and the whispers at the office began to circulate. News spread that she was just one of Mark's ex-girlfriends, and her colleagues treated her accordingly. With a job she despised, no opportunities for advancement, and a family that scorned her, Jessica sank deeper into depression. She had lost everything: her husband, her career, and her self-worth. Her heart ached constantly, and her mind was a prison filled with regret and longing for what could have been. Sarah, our daughter, tried desperately to reach out and support her mother, but Jessica's downward spiral seemed unstoppable. As Jessica's weight plummeted, Sarah watched helplessly. Jessica had stopped taking care of herself. She ate poorly and relied on alcohol every evening to numb the pain. "Without you, I have no reason to care," she'd often say, her voice laced with despair. When Sarah approached me for advice, I felt a twinge of sympathy for her plight. Yet, I couldn't shake the betrayal that had shattered my life and never spoke to Jessica again. As for Mark, he was learning that actions have consequences. Stella, his wife, had transformed into a force to be reckoned with. She refused to let him forget his infidelity and had moved him into one of the guest rooms as a reminder of his mistakes. Mark was paying dearly for his actions, both emotionally and financially. Meanwhile, Stella began dating younger men, keeping Mark around as a financial cushion. He was reduced to a mere accessory at corporate events and business meetings while they lived separate lives. Mark's anger towards me was palpable. He wanted nothing more than to inflict pain and make me suffer for the perceived wrongs he had faced. For months, I kept my distance, letting the anger simmer beneath the surface. Then one night, while out for drinks with coworkers, I was ambushed outside the bar. A group of men attacked me, and I was left bruised and broken until my friends rushed out to help. The assailants fled before the police arrived, leaving me to spend 2 days in the hospital with broken ribs and stitches. I had no doubt this was Mark's revenge, a twisted plan to hurt me. 6 weeks later, once I had recovered enough to return to the world, I decided it was time to confront him. I called Mark's office and asked to speak with him. His secretary informed me he was in a meeting, so I left a message. "Tell him to meet me at 1 p.m. this Friday at the French deli across the street," I instructed, my voice steady. "Tell him to come alone." The secretary hesitated, but I insisted, just give him the message. He'll understand what it means. On Friday, I arrived early and secured a table facing the door, my heart racing as I waited. When Mark finally walked in, he looked surprised but quickly approached the table. "What do you want?" he asked, irritation coloring his voice. I ignored his tone and replied calmly, "Thank you for coming today. Your people did a good job with me, but unfortunately for you, they didn't follow through. You didn't heed my warning about seeking revenge against me or my family, and now you forced my hand." I slid a folded piece of paper across the table towards him. "Here's a link to a website created just for you. Don't bother trying to shut it down, it operates from Syria with 3 backup servers in different locations. It's untraceable. You're screwed." Mark's expression shifted from confusion to shock as he processed my words. I could see the realization dawning on him that his past choices had led him to this moment, and I felt a rush of satisfaction knowing I had finally taken a stand. As he left the deli, I couldn't help but think of the fallout from our entangled lives, and I knew this was just the beginning of a new chapter for both of us, one where I would finally reclaim my power. I blurred Jessica's face in the video. She had already suffered enough and didn't deserve to bear the weight of my pain. But as I prepared to share the evidence of her betrayal, I wanted to make him think carefully about the fallout from his actions. "After you look at this website," I said, my voice steady, "I want you to consider how your firm will react. Think about your wife, your children, your friends, and family. How will they feel after watching a 2-hour sex tape that I plan to post on several popular adult sites? I'll include your name, your profession, your address, and your phone number." His anger flared, and he shot back, "You've already ruined my life. I'll never be the same sexually again. Just stop it, or I promise you will disappear." I met his gaze, unflinching. "That's precisely why we're here today, Mr. Diamond. You took away the most precious thing in my life, my wife. You destroyed our 20-year marriage, and I can't let you walk away without consequence. You mentioned I risk being killed, but I intend to make you pay for the beating your people gave me." "Okay, calm down," he said, trying to regain control of the situation. "What do you want?" I laid out my terms. 2 things, and they aren't up for negotiation. You will stop any retaliation against me or anyone I know, including Jessica. And you will deposit a specific amount of money into this account by the end of the day on Friday. If the funds aren't in by 9 p.m. on Friday, I'll take action." He frowned, calculating the risk. "I know what you're worth, and I understand what I could face in a lawsuit. This measly amount you're asking for should be considered a gift." "If I agree," he replied, "how do I know you won't still destroy me?" "I am a man of my word," I assured him. "But let me make this clear, if you don't comply, there's a 100% chance that this site will gain notoriety by Saturday morning. I hope you suffer for the rest of your life for what you did to my happy marriage." To my surprise, the money was transferred without hesitation. It felt like a small victory amidst the chaos. We sold the house and divided the assets. Jessica received enough to live comfortably, provided she continued working or found another husband. But the bond she had with Mark never truly recovered, they were never close again. In the years that followed, Jessica rarely dated, living with the weight of the pain she had caused both of us. She had lost her marriage and the love of the man she wanted to spend her life with, and now, she found herself alone and consumed by depression. Tragically, a few years later, she passed away just shy of her 50th birthday, a broken and sad woman. Only our daughter, Sarah, was present at the ceremony to scatter her ashes. I moved on, continuing to work for several more years before relocating to a small town. There, I remarried a wonderful woman who appreciated me both mentally and physically. I never spoke to Jessica again, and I only learned of her death through Sarah, whom I adored. We talked every day, remaining close, but Sarah rarely mentioned her mother. She understood the depth of my love for Jessica and didn't want to awaken the pain of that past. Jessica's death brought a bittersweet sadness. While it saddened me, it also provided a sense of final relief to the deep sorrow I had kept locked away. Life continued, and I focused on the present, cherishing the connection I had with Sarah and my new wife. Despite the scars of my past, I was determined to move forward and embrace the happiness I had found.